Rwanda is considered to be one of the fastest growing economies in Africa. And looking at the Poland administration since the year 2000 has been making efforts to reposition the economy of Rwanda through partnerships and economic ties. The latest development has to be the economic collaboration between Rwanda and Poland through the Rwanda-Poland Business Forum that took place recently. What will be the impact of this on the economy of Rwanda, and why is Poland of interest to Rwanda? Let's hear what our special guest analyst will have to say as regards this development. He joins us from Rwanda. We're being joined by Ford Nkusi, who is the president, Rwanda Software Testing Qualification Board. Glad to have you join us this morning, all the way from Rwanda. How is Rwanda this morning?
Rwanda is cold, a little chilly. It was raining overnight, so it was a little chilly, misty, but pleasant as usual.
Interesting. Almost like the same thing happening here in Lagos. You know, we've been expecting rains for some months now, and it started yesterday. So it means we have things in common. One Africa. That's interesting.
Absolutely.
Great. Now let's kick off the conversation is to look at the economic partnership being signed by the government of Rwanda and some of the opportunities that will bring for that nation. Now the latest of this economic partnership has to be the one that the country has with Poland through the Economic Poland Business Forum. Now give us a background to this kind of partnership, and why do you think Poland is of interest to Rwanda? And what will be the details of this kind of partnership and the opportunities for the people of Rwanda?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me and having thought of my contribution to this conversation. It's a conversation I'm very passionate about in technology, first of all, but also in business entrepreneurship. First of all, Rwanda and Poland have two major uniqueness. The two countries are unique in two different ways, but they share that uniqueness. One is that Rwanda is among the fastest growing economies on the continent. Secondly, Poland happens actually to be one of the fastest also growing economies globally. They actually hold the second position in terms of economic growth and economic transformation after China, if you look at the recent statistics in the past 20 years. So they both seem to be economies that are highly ambitious and are developing pretty fast. But to your question, what brings the two countries together? What makes them become destinations of interest to each other? Over the past couple of years, there's been several visits between the two countries, high-level visits in terms of high-level government and business sector visits. And also, this was advanced, of course, by the fact that the two countries have been very ambitious in terms of economic growth. I'll give you a few statistics. Between 1990 and 2023, the GDP per capita in 1990 of Poland was just a little over $6,000 US. In 2023, the GDP per capita of Poland had risen from a little over 6,000 to 44,000 United States dollars. That's a little over 800% of collective global economic growth rate. So this is a very significant statistic that positions the country and puts it at a trajectory that makes it very attractive to investment. They have also become a global number two in terms of economic development, which I just said after China. But in a specific way, Poland happens to be a destination to about 1,500 Rwandan students that are attending education in Polish universities. This shows that the choice of these Rwandans to obtain their education in Poland is because they think that there is a specific niche that Poland provides that Rwandan students need to advance their economic and social advancement in general. So that makes them very, very attractive. Secondly, there are unique areas that Rwanda has been looking at and in terms of how they are trying to position themselves to become global leaders or even to become a regional hub. And those key areas, which are areas of health, tourism, sports, and banking, these seem to be the exact specific areas that Poland has been advancing and which have defined Poland's economic fortune over the past 20 years. And because of this, Rwanda finds it uniquely strategic to work with Poland in terms of advancing business and trade and investment for the two countries. But what does then Rwanda bring on the table when it comes to attracting businesses and investment from Poland? Rwanda happens to be one of the safest countries on the continent. It's actually the #1 safest country on the continent. But over the past 20 years, Rwanda has undertaken specific reforms, economic reforms, that make it very attractive for foreign investment to come into the country. They have, for example, removed visa requirements for all African citizens, for all members of the Commonwealth, and all the members of Francophone, which almost makes it easy for any citizen on this continent to just pick up a plane and fly into the country and without a pre-requirement for visa. That's a very unique strategy that Rwanda has reformed to make it an attractive destination for investment. Secondly, Rwanda is part of a regional bloc, the East African Community. And because of that, they now become part of a regional economic market that makes the whole regional market become a collective over 300 million population of people within the region that you can easily produce and sell your products to. But number 3, Rwanda's to-do business index has positioned it to be number 2 on the whole continent on how you enter the country, how you open a business, and how you transact and make your business successful. So the to-do business in Rwanda now positions it as number 2 after Mauritius, which is a very attractive strategy for the country. But also, Rwanda happens to be a country that has made lots of investment in public infrastructure. It's a country that you can go to and be able to connect border to border on very fine roads that are all lit, that you can be able to move from one district to another, one region to another, on perfectly super nice infrastructure. They have made such a big investment in that. It has a very young population. Unlike a lot of European countries and a lot of Asia Pacific countries where you are experiencing a kind of a senile demography. In Rwanda, we have a very young population, just like everywhere in the region, where you have the age bracket between 20 to 35 constituting well over 65 to 70% of the population. This makes the country very attractive. And all these young people are innovative. They have a very high entrepreneurial spirit. They have the business acumen. And these are the little ingredients that you require to really grow a successful business partnership with a country that has already registered some level of growth and has very good technologies that you can benchmark on to be able to build your economy.
Now, earlier you made reference to the economic opportunities in the area of tourism, health. I would like you to still expatiate on the details of this kind of partnership and how it's going to impact those sectors in Rwanda.
Yeah, that's very interesting. For tourism specifically, Rwanda doesn't happen to be a very rich country in terms of natural resources. For example, we don't have oil like Nigeria does. We do not have a lot of gold but what the country has specifically focused on is how to grow how to grow and advance and make sure that the human capital and service industry is very well developed. It is trying to position itself as a hub for conferences, for meetings, for events, and that's why they have developed very good infrastructure in terms of what you need to be able to fly in the country and conduct a successful meeting of whatever nature. It could be of a continental or even a global nature. Secondly, we have improved the biodiversity of the tourism resources that we have. When you look at the mountain gorillas, for example, we have improved the services that we offer to tourists in terms of how easy it is for you to land in the country, and also guaranteeing that when you are in the country, you'll be able to have a glimpse of these very rare animals that only exist in this part of the world, and where very many people want to come and look at this type of primate, which is just one gene away from a human being, and understanding how they operate, how they live a life. That's in terms of tourism. But also the country has also tried to grow their sports tourism by building sports infrastructure, by putting in place facilities that are of an international standard for any global sports activity that would take place on the continent. For example, they have improved facilities and infrastructure in golf, the sport of golf. They have improved infrastructure in basketball. They have improved infrastructure in football by putting up international standard facilities that anybody that are interested in having these events take place, they could easily have these events take place in Rwanda, with all these other peripheral benefits I talked about, having a young population, having good road infrastructure. So tourism, to that end, there's been a very big investment that has been done. Now in health, Rwanda has been trying to position itself as a hub for advanced medical research and also health investment in the area of cancer research and cancer facilities, but also in the area of surgery, but of high-tech nature, also in the area of research in tropical medicine, also in the area of employing robotics in the health sector. For example, during the COVID-19, when physical interaction between human beings was very highly restricted, Rwanda was very fast in acquiring robots that were put in specific public places to be able to perform functions that could easily be done by, that were normally being done by human beings. If anybody landed in Rwanda during the COVID period, 2020, 2023, you may have noticed that on arrival at the airport, you would be able to have a robot take you through the procedures for you to clear and enter into the country without a physical and direct contact with the customs officer. So in that area, they have been trying to advance robotics in the medical field.
Right. In every business deal, you talk about the comparative advantage. What will you consider to be the comparative advantage of Poland in this kind of relationship? And then how will it impart that of Rwanda, if this partnership is something to go by in coming months?
The first one is the tin smelting facility that Poland has invested into Rwanda, and that this has made Rwanda one of the largest tin processing countries in East and Central Africa. Why? Because Rwanda has very rich deposits of tin as compared to other countries in the region. And so Poland took advantage of that and made a huge investment in tin processing and has positioned the country, tin processed from Rwanda, become one of the most competitive globally. That's a huge comparative advantage. But secondly, as I had mentioned before, Poland, as are many other countries in Europe and Asia Pacific region, and I think also in the Americas, you're having these populations slowly growing or becoming senile demographics. You are having older people or people walking into retirement in large numbers as compared to young people growing. So for Poland, they find this a very high comparative advantage by investing in Rwanda because of its very young population that is highly elite, but also highly energetic, highly charismatic, and very highly entrepreneurial. They have a very high entrepreneurial age bracket that is very conducive for Poland.
All right, interesting. From your own estimation, how will you describe the investment environment and the ease of doing business in Rwanda? Why do you think Rwanda should be of interest to any investor hoping to invest in that country?
That's a very interesting question. Many times I talk to my Nigerian friends and I always tell them it's very difficult to blow your own trumpet, but it's very good to come to one and see these things yourself. I'll give you an example. I belong to this region. I've been here for quite some time. When you come to Rwanda, you will walk into the Rwanda Development Board, which is the coordinating organ of investments in this country. But you walk into RDB in the morning at 8 o'clock, and you leave that office at midday, and you have everything you need to start a business in any country. You have a bank account, you have a company registration, you have your social security certification, you have everything that you need to start running a business of whatever nature, even if it's a multi-million-dollar investment or even if it's just a startup. In 3, 4, 5 hours, you have a one-stop center that you can be able to register a company and you walk out with all your papers and start business tomorrow. When other countries in this region, it will take you probably a month, 2 months. To other countries on the continent, it may even take 6 months for you to struggle to put your money in a country. Now, I need you to imagine you're an investor, you come here and in Rwanda, when you are a citizen of this country, it takes you 1 full day to get a passport. You apply for a passport today at 10, and you get it tomorrow at 10. That's how efficient the government can be. We have what we call Irembo, which is a national gateway to all government to citizen services. It's one portal. And you get everything using going through Irembo in the shortest possible time. So if you come to this country, there are certain things that you will see, and especially in the level of efficiency through which government conducts business and through which the private sector is so proactive in trying to grow and to make quick wins and to leverage on low-hanging fruits to be able to benchmark on some of the best practices to make both ends meet. You'll find that this country is one of the miracles. I would call it one of the marvels of this continent, actually.
All right, that sounds interesting. But the fact remains that there are two sides to a coin. For an investor hoping to come to Rwanda, what are some of the challenges or the likely pitfall bottlenecks that they should be aware of or be wary of before coming to invest in that country? Because I don't want to believe you have a perfect situation just like it doesn't exist anywhere. But just to inform investors who are willing to come to Rwanda, what are some of the challenges or the bottleneck they need to be wary of or be aware of so that they can manage it outrightly, if possible?
That's a very, very interesting question. And one of them, which I'm always telling my very good business friends, having spent quite some time leading a business organization, a business membership organization in the country for over 10 years, the Rwanda ICT Chamber. There are things I always tell my very good friends who want to invest here. One is that there are certain facts we cannot run away from. One is that we are a small market. We are a small country in the middle of big giants in terms of geographical size. We happen to be a very small country with a very small population as well. We're about 30 million people. So we are, I think, an equivalent of a small county or district in Nigeria in terms of size. And so if you are coming to invest in Rwanda, hoping for Rwandans as a market to your product, that may not be a very good strategic target. But Rwanda is a very good proof of concept country. It's a country where it's going to be very easy for you to do whatever you want to do, but also be able to access a much wider market outside Rwanda, in the region and on the continent. You have a very active airline. You have policies for repatriation of your profits to any volume. You can come here, make profit of $120 million, $1 billion, and you make a direct transfer from Rwanda to anywhere where that money needs to go. So you can repatriate your profits as you want. But for you to say, I'm going to Rwanda to make soft drinks that are going to be consumed by Rwandans, that may not be the right market for you. However, for you to be able to set up that and do it, it's going to take you a second. You do that, and then you have the entire market of the region that you can access because of how we have positioned ourselves regionally and continentally. We belong to all these economic blocks of the continent, and we have very good working relationship with most of the countries. The national carrier, Rwanda Airlines, flies to many destinations on the continent. We are in partnership with other airlines that also can reach anywhere on the continent, but also globally. We can also move globally. So answering your question, one, we don't have a lot of natural resources like most of the countries that are endowed with natural resources, like Nigeria, like DR Congo, like Uganda, but we have these other niches that we think we can be able to provide a lot of leverage for investors in the country.
Rwanda shares the symbol that with Uganda, Tanzania, and some other countries. What will be the impact of this kind of partnership on those countries and by extension, Africa as a continent?
Well, I think from the East African level, I think a lot has been done. I mean, Rwanda has been part of the East African community for quite some time now. There's a lot that has been done. If I could specifically speak about what I was particularly involved in, which is for example, the regional honor, what we call the honor, the One Network area, which was the first proof of concept globally, where telecom companies in 3 countries, in Uganda, Kenya, and Rwanda, under what we call the Northern Corridor Integration Projects Framework, the 3 countries were able to offset all incoming or inbound, outbound traffic and made it a one local area network, circumventing all the roaming charges that were previously levied on all outside calls. So if you are in Rwanda and you are making a call to Kenya, then as an incoming call to Kenya, that would be a foreign call. So the charge would be a little higher. Or if you traveled from Rwanda to Uganda with your locals, with your one SIM card, then you would get in Uganda and you would be considered an outside call. So you would be charged roaming charges. I think you know about this. In collaboration, the kind of collaboration you're talking about, when that happened, the 3 countries agreed to make their 3 countries become a one local network. So you didn't have to go to Kenya and then buy a Kenyan SIM card and then insert it in your phone and then be able to make calls. So for calls, became a local area network. For short messaging system, one network, but also for mobile financial services, meaning that you can be able to send money from Rwanda to Kenya using mobile money, and you send it as a one franc, and the Kenyan is going to receive it as a Kenyan shilling. And so was that for Uganda, and I think it's also through MTN. I think it's also possible for Nigeria that you can be able to send money and receive money between these countries in the region with some of the West African countries and even some of the Southern African countries like Zambia, like Namibia. I think it's now possible. But the whole concept started from the 3 countries, and it was being spearheaded by Rwanda at the time because they were the ones leading that ICT cluster and also leading the trade and services cluster under the Northern Corridor Integration Project. So the impact is huge. The open movement of people and services between the borders, so there is easy trade, makes Rwanda become a suitable investment destination because, like I said, then you can be able to access markets because the borders are now open. So if you're producing something in Rwanda and you want to sell it to Kenya, because of that cooperation between countries, it becomes easy for you to be able to do that. You may find certain advantages not available in Kenya or in Uganda, but prevalent in Rwanda, making it a good destination for you to do business. So the impact is immense. The impact is large. You being able to send money and buy something from Rwanda when you're a Kenyan, and then you can put it on a plane that flies to Kenya, put it on a bus. We now have buses that fly all the long routes from all the way from Mombasa to all the way to Kigali and even beyond Rwanda. And so you can buy something in Kenya and bring it to Rwanda on a bus, or you can buy something in Rwanda and have it delivered in Uganda, in Kampala, on a bus or even on a plane because of the regional airline and airspace, the joint airspace management system for the 3 countries. And even for all the countries in the East African region, it becomes very easy. So the impact is immense, truly.
Great. Now let's come to your area of expertise, if I may use the word, your constituency now, talking about ICT. I would like you to talk about some of the opportunities inherent in ICT and how the government of Rwanda has been able to maximize the opportunities in ICT provided by ICT. What are some of the challenges as well? And now that AI is also becoming the rave of the moment, how has that been helpful, and what are some of the challenges that it has also created in Rwanda?
Very interesting. Now it's very difficult to talk about my domain because there are so many milestones that have been achieved in the area of information technology. As you may know, Rwanda, unlike many countries globally, was the first. I could probably be the only one so far, I don't have that statistic very well, that has a regulation on commercialized drone technology. When everyone else globally was failing or refusing or deliberately circumventing from putting in place policies that are suitable for drone operation, Rwanda came fast to just say, well, let us look at this technology and let us look at what kind of benefits that we can get from this technology. Rwanda is a very landlocked country. It's called a country of 1,000 years. For medical service, for emergency blood transfusion between one health center and another, it required a vehicle that has equipment that can keep that blood safe for transmission to another patient in another health center. When you look at the nature of our terrain and the infrastructure in place, it would take so long for a vehicle to leave point A to point B to be able to take blood, or even to be able to take very simple medical supplies. When Rwanda was able to come up with a simple regulatory framework for drone operation, we were able to attract a startup from the United States called Zipline that came into this country and was able to drop all these medical supplies to health centers in fractions of minutes. So it takes such a short time for a drone to deploy a liter or 2 liters of blood from point A to point B and be able to save life, when it would have taken quite some time for a Land Cruiser to go up the hill, down the road, or a motorbike, or whatever you want to call it, to just deliver a simple health supply or medical supply. And so to this area, the company Zipline has been able to expand operations in Rwanda, reaching all health centers. They have now extended their operations to Tanzania, and they are now also gradually, I think they are also expanding their operations to Nigeria, if I'm not very mistaken. And so that's the kind of proof of concept I was talking about in the area of technology. But also the deployment of AI in Rwanda, where it's now being used in security and providing safe policing for the national police. If you come to Rwanda, I mean, a few years ago, it used to take some time for, you would have to deploy so many policemen on the road to be able to inspect and ensure that there is safety on the road, and speed limits, making sure people are not speaking on phone when they're driving, making sure people are not drunk when they're driving. With introduction of AI, all these police human beings have now been put to other services that are good for citizen policing, other than doing that on the road. With installation of all these AI-powered traffic control equipment nationwide, the country no longer needs people standing on roadsides to be able to stop you and say, why is your car in a dangerous mechanical condition, or why are you driving drunk? Artificial intelligence has now helped in making sure that all that is streamlined. I wish to invite you to Rwanda. Dr. Idahosa, my very good friend, has been here many times, and some have been here many times, and they have been amazed by this technology on the roads, and Rwanda is almost a corrupt-free country. So we don't, corruption is not something that you can practice here. It's a very incorrupt country. But I think all this is because of really the leadership that has instilled a level of mindset and discipline amongst the population to understand that this is a country where you have to be normal. I think you wouldn't be able to. There's no window of opportunity for you to not do things right when you can, and that I think has been a very good thing. I mean, without this leadership, I don't think Rwanda would have managed to make the strides and milestones that's been able to achieve.
All right. In spite these opportunities and the good things that have been said about Rwanda, which I quite agree with you, there are other challenges that has to do with the economic challenges in Rwanda. Talking about the rising inflation rate, talk to us. What are the efforts being made to curtail this kind of development? What is the situation there in Rwanda? Globally, the issue of energy demand has been of concern as well. So what's the situation as regards the impact of the exchange rate as well? Talking about international trade, the position of the dollar has also been very significant. I would like you to shed more light on these developments in Rwanda.
Yeah, I think this has been a very big challenge to Rwanda specifically because of some of the imports that define our lifeline. There are things that we are compelled to have that we can't produce, and they are a backbone for our survival. One of them is fossil fuel products, which we use to run the functioning of the economic system of the country and the functioning of states. And this has been really pretty much because of the oil producing countries, because of other global factors, the war in Ukraine and many other factors. But generally speaking, there has also been a huge economic slump globally. If you're following the news, you know that only the other day, the third largest economy on the continent, Japan, went down into depression. If you had the news, I mean, in not depression, but in recession. And these are economic partners that we have very strong relations with. So an impact on one is an impact to the other. But to Rwanda specifically, I think our currency has also been very much impacted by the strength of the dollar, like it's been for many countries. The strength of the dollar, it's affected us so much that the reserves that are available for us to be able to balance and control inflation have been limited because of the strength of the dollar. I mean, I think it's a global trend. But when it comes to a country like Rwanda, where, like I told you, we're not a very big economy when you compare us with the rest of the region, the kind of natural resources, the kind of what we produce, the kind of what we have available, our food security, our oil reserves, our environmental needs, what we need to keep our environment safe. All of these have kind of, we don't have as much as some of the countries in the region have. And so when you're hit by this whole global impact, especially with the dollar, we've been strongly hit. But there are so many measures being put in place to combat this. One is increasing our exports, to make sure that we increase our exports. And like I told you, what is our export? Our export is the service industry, growing our service industry, attracting more tourists into the country, attracting more conferences, attracting more events, attracting more sports tourism, because as they come into the country, they come with foreign reserves. And once we can be able to boost the basket of foreign reserve, then we are able to balance and make sure that we control the level of inflation and make sure that we leverage on those reserves coming through to make sure that we make our balance of payment level and therefore be able to circumvent all these negative forces that are impacting us on an economic level.
All right. The president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, was eager to make an announcement last year as regards this visa-free policy, which was officially announced that Rwanda is free for all Africans. Quite a good one. But why do you think other African leaders are foot-dragging when it comes to this same policy? What has been the impact to Rwanda since the announcement of this policy? What will you expect from other African leaders when it comes to this example that's been set by the president of Rwanda?
Well, that's a very interesting one. I don't know if I am capable to speak on behalf of other African presidents. I haven't been a politician. I don't think I'm looking to being one. But what I think is that the whole reason why probably some of these African leaders are not moving very fast is because they are still stuck in a mindset of nationhood, where they are still looking at sovereignty of nations being singular sovereignty, like being someone saying, we are a country and so we are enough, or if you are not enough, we'll go this country, and not looking at the sovereignty of the continent. And how can we do this thing continentally? That's one. Two, some of the African leaders are still stuck in the foreign aid syndrome, not being able to move beyond what has been going on, like rich countries providing aid to you, and you're all caught up in that aid trap, but you're not moving out to be able to say, okay, you can give me aid for a period of time, but I need to graduate from this aid and be able to do things myself. And be able to grow my own economy and be able, and for that to happen, it has to be done at a continental level, because not all of us as countries are capable of doing things and having the resources that we need to be able to stand on our own. Economic blocs globally have shown that they define the success of economics, and they also define the trends of economics that we have experienced over so many decades. You can't thrive by yourself. You need others to be able to thrive. That's what I think.
All right, let's wrap up with this conversation. Looking at Africa as a continent, you know, is the second largest in the world. Now that we're in the season of economic blocs, you know, economic alliance here and there, regional, you know, regions coming together, continents coming together to form collaborations, what kind of call to actions will you give to African leaders in order for that proper kind of collaboration to exist in the African continent, knowing the sensitivity of this continent and the sensitivity of our position globally? So what kind of collaborations will you expect and call to actions to African leaders for us to be able to harness the potential inherent in Africa as a continent?
I think Africans need to look at some of the opportunities that have been made available in the recent years. The African Continental Free Trade Area, for example, is one very key element that could make Africa leapfrog to the level of global standards in terms of economic growth, in terms of political and social dispensation. African Continental Free Trade Area would be one of the key drivers that would propel us there. and many countries need to embrace this, because it's the only way we can be able to open markets to each other. That's the only way we can be able to share technologies. It's the only way we can be able to share experiences. By the way, I was attending a meeting in Kyoto 3 months ago at the Global Internet Governance Forum, at a panel of the impact of generative AI to economies in Africa. And one of the things we were talking about was when we look at, for example, how the world has transacted, how people have transacted, especially globally, like transactions. And we looked at financial transactions for the past very many decades have been based on a plastic card. You know, you have that Visa card that you can take anywhere. You have a credit card, you have a debit card, you have a prepaid card that's used to make transactions. In Africa, a technology that was born on this continent made it possible to use the technologies we have with our mobile phones to invent mobile money, meaning that you can be able to make all these transactions using mobile money. The West that is still stuck in that plastic card system. If you are to collect all the plastic cards that people have been using globally, you probably could be able to fill 100 containers of small plastic Visa cards. But these are plastics. These are not even good for the environment. With your phone, you can be able to do all these transactions. And so the world is failing to leapfrog or to be able to benchmark on some of the successes from the global South and improve. This is where Africa should be able to make the biggest of strengths, saying we have this technology, this is something we can be able to influence the globe, the world, by this technology we have made. You know, those are some of the simple examples that you look at and say, well, so if we were to be able to transact and trade amongst ourselves, then there would even be more reason for people to connect. Then there would be reasons for an economic bloc like West Africa to just say, by the way, since we are doing business in East Africa, why don't we combine as countries and we build a railway line from Lagos to Kigali and to Mombasa? Or why don't we build a road network from Mauritania all the way to Asmara in Eritrea? Or why don't we put up a railway line from Cairo to Cape Town so that it's easy for people to just move amongst themselves? And these are the things that some of the countries we call the global rich north used to be able to become big economies as they so became over some years, although some of these economies are also beginning to really fail in many areas, and because of advancement of technology and advancement of these many things. So sometimes it's not very easy. Yeah? But in my view, I think the African continental free trade area would be one very key to the success of a continental economic marvel that would define a new Africa of the generations to come.
Great. It's been quite interesting having this conversation with you. We just have to leave the conversation here. And I must confess, you've succeeded in inspiring me to come and invest in Rwanda. And I hope to be there soon. And so I must thank you for your time.
Welcome to Rwanda. As we say, visit Rwanda. Please come and see for yourself.
All right. So we must appreciate you for your time, your commitment, and your submission, and then giving us the opportunity to have a view of how Rwanda looks like. Thank you so very much. We really appreciate your time and your commitment.
Thank you very much for having me.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.